Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another episode of Author Talks. This time I have RJ Parker, who is the author of Requiem Changing Times. This book is filled with action and fantasy stuff. Mythical characters are stuffed into it. It is just a fabulous read. If you haven't read it already, you may wanna go check it out. The link of the Amazon purchase link is there in the description area. You can go click it over there. Now, without further ado, let's bring RJ Parker into the conversation. Ever since I read Requiem Changing Times, I have been dying to know more about the book and its author. So, this is an absolute pleasure for me to be able to ask these questions to you. So before diving into the questions, I really wanted to let you know that. And yes, welcome to my channel. So the first question that I want to know about Requiem Changing Times is, of course, where did the inspiration come from? I mean, you took the audience into the world of Clint, where mythical creatures invaded his world, and the story kept getting interesting, and we were glued to our seats to know what will happen. So, where did the inspiration come from for this amazing novel?
Hello, I am RJ Parker, author of Requiem Changing Times, and I'm grateful for anybody watching this. And where did the inspiration come from? In this, there's a lot of folklore, legends, and things where you have something magical happening. And one reason I really like the fantasy aspect of life and writing is that I wanted to write something where you could look out and see it through your window or open your front door and you could really see this happening. Bring the fantasy of reality to your own door and you can escape your own reality. And also wanted to make it where anything can happen. I didn't, a lot of the books I've read and a lot of things in our folklore and our legends and different points of our own history, you could read a few first couple of pages and you can guess and probably be pretty accurate on where it's going to go. With Requiem, I wanted to make it into a world kind of relatable where anything can happen. And that was a little bit of my inspiration, is going off a lot of the things of which other authors have pulled from and wanted to make it also believable. Because if you wanted high fantasy, you lose that complete reality and you make another reality of your own, not one which is mixed. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make something where anybody and everybody could see that this could happen in the point of where they can believe it because it's something they experience every day, not just on an emotional level, but as well as a physical one. And hopefully, a lot of points that people could relate to that happen to them. And then, as well, I wanted to make something to create where they can escape their reality and have something more magical, where a lot of different things could happen that couldn't happen in our current reality. Inspiration for that came from a lot of other writers that I admire, and a lot of other poets have also taken that trend where they have taken their own reality and then they've added something special to it. And that's something I wanted to do. And way of inspiration is it's all around us. I look and you can look at a dog looking at a squirrel and you can come up with a huge story right there. You can look at anything that somebody does and you can let your imagination go and you can keep drawing stories from it. And so for me, inspiration is all around. And that's where I've got it for Requiem Changing Times.
So, out of all the characters, O'Neill is my favorite character. His wit, innocence, and accent is just fascinating. So, I want to know more about it. Did you inject some of your characteristics into him, or, you know, just again, the inspiration part? How did you come up with this character, O'Neill?
O'Neill and Corbin and a lot of the characters, I could just say wittiness or whatever. I was born with a deformity, you could say. There's a spot between the brain and the mouth where there should be a filter. I don't have that. I have what another little voice, And I'm a smart aleck at times. Drives my friends, they love it, but gets me in a lot of trouble. And so with O'Neill and with Corbin, as I was writing or thinking about where the story was going and whatever, that little voice would come up and it'd say something that was just off the wall. And I was like, put that in there. Or when I was thinking about the story, uh, the character of O'Neill, it would just pop up and he would do this and that, and it would kind of shape the story in a different way and make it comical. In the age group of going to somebody younger and young adult, uh, I learned and I wanted to have not I wanted to have action in it, but to make it good action and something tailored to a younger audience. I found I also wanted to do it with humor, and for that, uh, putting an innocent character in that situation who responds to it with a comedic role was how I solved that equation. And putting in any action that something with the main character was a sidekick, and for that I needed O'Neill for Banks, and for our other hero Clint, who is not so much the physical type hero as he is the emotional one. And I put in Corbin, and so a lot of their little Zanti wording and mannerism they are of me and that little disfigurement I have. But it's also a lot of fun, I think, and I don't ever want to become a serious writer as much as a fun writer and one who can make the story funny because that's who I am. But with the accent, I had a friend who we'd sit down and we would write for a little bit, and I thought just giving this guy a Scottish accent. And there is one part in the story where, well, two parts where he's singing a song, and I was actually driving from work and I was singing the songs back over the radio and trying to apply a Scottish accent to it. And I would go and I'd try and find the funniest one. And if you're ever bored, you could try it sometimes. Fun game, I guess. But it's just me driving alone and I'm singing songs and trying to put a Scottish accent on it. And really made it a lot of fun. And then trying to go in and then I'd write a line and then I'd try and translate it into what O'Neill would say. I actually got some kickback of that. So a lot of people did not want that in a book. But to me, that's his character. That's who he was. I didn't want to ever take that away from him, as that's the way this character spoke. I knew it would be trouble for some people. You have to read the first line maybe once or twice, but once you get the hang of it, that's just who the guy was. And it also, I found one person made the comment that it also drew them more into the book because they have to read and understand this character just a little bit more. So he really is like one of my favorites. He's a fantastic character. Somebody I'd love to meet one day, but he is a good singer. I know that personally from radio. But there will be more of him.
Is there going to be a sequel of Requiem Changing Times? Would we get to see more of O'Neill maybe?
Yes, there is. It is actually called Requiem Perception Rising. And that should be released later on this year. And in that, we pick up right where the other one left off. And we are taking the journey that Corbin and Clint and his friends are on and even taking it further. Not just in the lessons that Clint learns, that family is really important, but moreover, how is it important and how he faces these challenges. And not just him, but Banks as well is very much a part of it. And we're introducing some more characters. We're not just fantasy meets reality, but we're having reality meet fantasy a little bit more in this, where their adventure really begins to take shape in this series. But that should be out later this year, and it's looking good so far.
So let's talk about Ajay Parker now. What's he like? What does he do when he's not writing?
Uh, I always have a tough time talking about myself. Who I am is really my family. I have married the best woman in the world. Her name is Michelle. and I have the wonderful opportunity of 4 kids now and 2 crazy dogs. And to show you that I'm still alive and still surviving it, I have 1 teenager and 1 preteen, and then I have 1 son. And then the last one is the most dangerous because she has what we call a Q curse. That kid could run for president now and make it just from one look. It's I'm powerless. We go to the store. I man, she'll buy the store. It's amazing. But who I am really is my family. I will do anything and everything to spend time with them and play games. My all of them are heavy into sports, but I did suffer an accident. Uh, oh my goodness, it's been about 7 years now, where I injured my back and I have some nerve damage, which really got me into writing itself, which I'm still recuperating from. So I'm not able to do some things physically, but whatever I do it with my family. They're the funnest people. It's the best. Other than that, study a lot. I think pursuing an education more and more is going to be something I do all through my life. There's always more to learn, and I never want to lose that opportunity. Then, very active religiously, and I love that. But I live in Logan, Utah, which is actually a great place where I can go fishing in 15 minutes, and I can do anything in pretty much 15 to a half an hour's point in time. There's anything and everything around me, and I love it. And then that's really just me spending time with my family and friends and helping other people as much as I can. And when I'm not writing, I'm even the stories come to shape as I'm with my family or with my friends. Something I always keep a little notepad with me and I write stuff down because I'm like, that would fit with this story here or this story here. So I always add to it. And then the problem is just having time to sit down and write. But that's pretty much who I am.
Did you always know that you want to be an author or you will be an author? What challenges did you face as a writer?
I had no idea I was going to be an author or even a published one. When I was younger, in junior high, was encouraged by one teacher to write a story, go into a contest, and actually won. And from then, I got more into sports, and then I left writing to the smarter people, became a jock, I say, and pretty much left it and went to college. Wrote again. I even won an award there, but wasn't really into it until I did have a accident where injured my back and had some nerve damage. And then I was on my back for a long time. And to save what sanity I had, I started to read a great deal. And every time I read, I was like, yeah, I would have taken that story a little different way. And so then my wife said, well, why don't you write? You always were good at it. So I started taking it up. And then that was where Requiem came from. And I enjoyed it so much. I've actually started another series, and with a couple more on the way. I found I was pretty good at it. So it's in a way I don't feel I selected to be a writer. Writing chose me, and so far it's working pretty good.
Now, this one is for aspiring writers all over the globe. What advice would you give them in terms of marketing the books? This is a question that I come across a lot. Aspiring writers always struggle with this doubt that would they be able to get any readers apart from their friends and families, which I think sometimes even they don't buy books. So, what would your advice be for aspiring writers in terms of marketing?
What I would suggest is if you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be a writer, I actually spoke with somebody, she wanted to write and do a little historical fiction, but she didn't know how to start. My advice to her was to just sit back, relax, find out what works. For some people, I have found that they are people that really like to program everything that could happen in the book as well as should happen in the book. That's one approach I did take once, where you whatever works for you. If you need a dry erase board, or if you need a piece of glass to write everything on, or a padded room and a crayon in a straitjacket that you can fit between your toes and you can write with your toes. Use that, where you can just sit back and you can write everything and anything that could happen in this book. Um, the character, what is this character like? Where was this character 5 years ago? What was the inspiration that made this character change? What food does they like? I mean, even if you don't include it in this book, write it, and so you know this character more than anybody, and then you can use that. Um, and then in the story, you map out everything in each chapter that you want, and then you take it step by step until your book is done. Read it again, listen to it, what works for you to have the story unfold the way exactly you want. And then from there, we'll go on to the next step. But there are other people that also are much shoot by the hip. I want to write a story. You know what? Sit back and start writing the story. Just start it and see where it takes you. If you want to introduce a new character, look around, see what's around you, see what you like, introduce a new character. You don't like it, take it out, and then just keep writing. See what works. That method has a lot more. You got to edit and take away and fine line, and then you don't like this character, you got to completely write him out at the end, and then you got to fix everything that was done and said around him. But there is that method too, and it works. So really find out what works for you, and then keep at it. Don't give up, because if you're looking for a lot of encouragement, there is encouragement out there for you to keep going. But if you're looking for a lot of encouragement by way of compliment, it's extremely difficult. But if you're also, for the next part of both of these, is get somebody else to read it. There are reading groups. There are friends and family who can read it, and they can give you their opinion. But no matter what, remember, it is their opinion. You asked for it, you got it. So a lot of them, they're negative, they're positive, but it is their opinion. And for example, like with one of my characters, O'Neill, he has a Scottish accent. A lot of people didn't agree with that. The average person has, I believe, a fourth grade reading level. And it would be very difficult for the average person to comprehend that. But with my style of writing and what I wanted to do in my story and for this character, I wanted to keep it in there. So when you ask and get somebody's opinion, the hardest part is choosing whether you're going to accept it or whether you're going to keep it or do whatever you want. So when I say accept it, are you going to change your writing? Should you change it to make it work? Are you going to just forget it, go on, or are you going to accept it and say a person's got a problem with this, but I want to keep it in. I'm going to keep what I want. That's the hardest part. There is no answer. Because with writing, there is no one set answer that this is actually going to be popular, this is going to be good, people like your ideas, people are going to like this story. There's no answer. You got to just try it. But you just keep at it, you keep trying it, and sometime you will get it. But that's my first piece of advice for those who wish to write. And then the second one is there's people who want to read. There's people that do love stories. You just need to find them. Find your target audience. Find who you want to make this story come alive to, and then reach out to them and see if they like it. There'll be some no's, there'll be some yes, there'll be some people that say they didn't like it. Again, that's their opinion, and you ask for it. So you got to develop kind of a thick skin in a way. But either way, what's most important is that the story is alive to you, and it's your story. These people get to share it. And when one person out of 100 just says, you know what, I really liked it, it makes a difference. That they appreciate these characters that have meant so much to you, and they relate to it. Because you may have one person saying, I didn't see the point of it, I didn't get it, there's no rhyme or reason to it. But if you get one that says, oh my goodness, I got it, your story is more alive. And that, I hope, keeps you going. because it can and does work.
So there's one thing that I believe everyone struggles with, almost everyone. It's self-doubt. It just creeps into your head and jams your creative flow and injects you with a lot of fear. You just don't know whether you're good enough. Such doubts just enter your system, and I believe they block your creativity. So if you get those feelings, those doubts, how do you fight against them? How do you, you know, put that aside and continue with your work?
Man, self doubt and uh, problems come at you all the time. I find sometimes when you're at the hardest times of your life. But one thing I've learned, I kind of made a little modify for myself, is when self doubt comes, you battle it with truth. And let's take writing, for example. You may write a poem and you think it's great. It sums up life. It's the space between the stars. It'll fill a black hole with emotion. It's fantastic. And then you go and you give it to somebody and they think it's terrible. It's something when you write, you really do open yourself up. Uh, and unfortunately, in this day and age, I feel it's really a drawback that everyone feels that they should give an opinion because opinions can be posted so easily. Um, and I think we've lost something in that. But battling it with truth can overcome doubt. Uh, and the truth is really that with writing, any writing can be good. Not all writing is good, I feel. I once knew a young lady, she said, anybody could sing. I said, yes, but not sing well. And she goes, no, they're still singing. Yeah, but they're not singing well. Yeah, I don't want to hear them anymore. So with writing, it's kind of the same thing. You may have somebody that writes, but they don't really write well. And I don't mean by spelling or grammar or anything, because there are people that are, I think, exceptional writers, but the laws of writing are not that important as the story. So their story is fantastic, but overcoming the doubt is the truth that it's really good, but changes need to be made. So learning that is not all writing is good, but all writing can be good. And it's just really up to you how good you want it. Because some suggestions you get are good, some suggestions you get are bad. But if you stick at it, keep going, it can be great. Sometimes you may have to scrap it, start all over, but it still can be good. So overcoming self doubt, you overcome it with truth. And you don't let that truth go.
So are you working on a new book? If yes, can we get a sneak peek into the plot?
Books. Yes, I'm working on actually a few. The I'm saying a lot, excuse me. The sequel to Requiem Changing Times is Requiem Perception Rising. And that one takes place again just right after the end of Requiem Changing Times. And with that one, we find that the characters are no longer in this place where the book ends, but they're taken to a magical point where those who have read the first book will understand. And we learn more about the Requiem on what it is and why it's so important. And there is more action, more adventure, and in this one, there is also, I guess you could say, kind of a question throughout that needs to be answered uh, by all the characters. And once they do find that answer, it sends them on a huge journey that also uh, the Fury is after them to stop them as well, because they're after this. And because everything depends on the answer of this one question. And once they get that answered, that takes the book in a different path and hopefully really inspires the inspiration of the story. And that one, again, that one will be coming out later this year. The next one is actually out. This one is called Crystal Shadows Gripping New Blood. This just came out last month, but I am currently working on, and I'm actually in the last chapter, the sequel to that one, and that one's really fun. And then I have two more books in the works. That is all in the planning stage. Everything's written out, and I've actually started writing one as I've needed a break from one book. I started this one because I really wanted to do it. It's a Western one, and that one we take a young couple just came into the United States right at the turn of the modern era, and he runs into a lot of trouble, and how he is very professional and has to overcome a lot of his snobby ways and professional ways and learn truly who he is in his journey across the West to get and solve some family problems that he is up against. And come up with a couple of different titles on that one. And then there's also another religious book I'm currently working on as well. So a lot of other books, but two series and a couple of standalone books on their own are in the works. And I feel like I'll keep writing as long as people want to keep reading. So thank you.
This has been a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you are taking good care of yourselves during these perilous times. Take care and stay in touch. So, guys, I hope you had a lot of fun watching this interview. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and keep reading.